This holiday season, I hope you're thankful for TV guys, because here we are. I'm Matt,
Brian,
and we are going to talk about. This is TV guys itself. I just completely screwed that up. I was so ready to get into it that I just blew past our intro.
people like they knew what episode they're clicking on when they started, so they know they're this.
You know exactly what you're getting into. I It's kind of like that joke of like and now a man who needs no introduction, and then they walk off the stage without actually giving an introduction. I've only seen that like actually done twice, but I've heard people talk about it a lot more. It's not that funny of a joke.
That's a weird conversation to randomly have. And you said you've had that conversation multiple times.
I don't know. I just remember when Seth MacFarlane, when he hosted the Oscars, he did that joke at one point. And I'm like, it doesn't work. In practice, it doesn't work. The idea works, but in practice, it doesn't. Kind of like communism.
You know something crazy? I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, but Seth MacFarlane once fell asleep at the airport and missed his flight. You know what's significant about that?
What?
He missed his flight on September 11th, 2001, and it was one of the flights that went into the World Trade Center.
No way. That's crazy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
A part of me feels like I had heard that before. But now he's making the best non-Star Trek Star Trek show on television. So
is he behind that one with Steve Carell?
No, he's behind the Orville.
Okay, I haven't seen either of those.
I've watched. I'm sorry, I shouldn't give such high praise to a show I've only watched like half a season of, because I watched the first half of season one, and it's like on at a weird time and I wasn't able to keep up with it. It's not like I stopped because I didn't want to. So now I need to find it and get caught back up, because I've heard really good things about it, and I liked what I saw so far.
Yeah.
But that is what is going around on the internet as well. As whenever I hear people talking about the Orville, they talk about it being like such a good Star Trek show and better than actually some of the CBS Star Trek shows that are on right now, except for I think maybe Lower Decks, I think is the name of it. Here I am talking about stuff that I haven't even watched. But you know what? When you're a TV Guys podcast, you can only watch so much TV in a day, and sometimes you have to draw on what other people like.
Especially since this isn't our full-time job. Like, if we were getting paid enough to live off of doing this podcast, that'd be cool. Then I would be watching way more TV, like, just, obviously in preparation for the episodes and stuff.
Yep. I spend a lot of time watching TV. I watch this week I watched one full season of The Simpsons and one full season of Impractical Jokers so far this week. So I get to watch stuff while I'm working because I work at home. It's amazing, guys. I love it.
Lately, what I've been doing is I've been trying to get better about going to the gym. What I'll do is I'll go on the Stairmaster and I'll watch an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I'll not let myself get off of it until the episode's done.
Nice. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a great show.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the final episodes. I still need to finish this last season. It's kind of like this last season came and went really quickly and like completely flew under my radar, because it's only like 9 episodes or 10 episodes. Plus they aired like a couple episodes at once on a certain day, so it was only like 6 weeks of it. But hey, so anyway, this week what we are talking about, though, we are in the middle of November. We're really close to Thanksgiving. Next week is going to be Thanksgiving. And so I hope that you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving and that you really enjoy it. And we're also going to have another Thanksgiving episode next week, where we're actually going to talk about some of our favorite Thanksgiving episodes. But this one is going to be a little bit more informative, a little bit more educational. Those are buzzwords you don't want to use when you're talking about entertainment, because people are like, oh, I hate that. Usually, I like informational stuff. We've seen a resurgence in documentaries. So, I mean, there's an audience for it. But I wanted to talk about this idea because I don't know if you've noticed, and I'm sure, Brian, you have, but I mean our viewers, I don't know if our viewers have noticed that when you watch a sitcom, it seems like every single sitcom has at least one Thanksgiving episode, if not doing it every single year. It seems pretty common to see, especially on sitcoms, when they do a Thanksgiving episode in the year. You get the Christmas episodes too. You get the sometimes Halloween episodes. Every now and then a Valentine's Day one. Very, very rarely a St. Patrick's Day one, and even more rare an Easter one. But it seems like Thanksgiving, you get typically the most that you actually see a Thanksgiving episode. So I wanted us to take a look and be like, well, why is it? Why is Thanksgiving? Because yeah, Christmas, we understand Christmas is a bit bigger of a holiday, but why Thanksgiving? I mean, you got so many people who are listening to Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas right now. Actually, they started on November 1st, and they have been listening to it. Some people, Paul, if you were watching, you have probably, or listening, you have probably already put up your tree by now. So
Yes.
I know that there's people who they are ready for Christmas, maybe even before Halloween is done.
Yeah.
But Thanksgiving gets brought up in TV shows. So Brian, what was your idea? Why did you think that this is why that happens?
I think, it's interesting because a lot of times, Christmas episodes are pretty common as well. But a lot of times, like you said, Thanksgiving is even more common. Like Friends did a couple Christmas episodes, but they did a Thanksgiving one every season. And they didn't do a Christmas one every season.
Yep.
And
I think it was the same with New Girl. I think New Girl every single season had Thanksgiving. I think they maybe also had one every season for Christmas too, but they definitely did for Thanksgiving.
I think with a character like Jess, you have to do Christmas because you know that she's going to go all out on Christmas every year. Whereas on Friends, I mean, there was the thing about, oh yeah, Monica's got her obsession with the tree being perfect, and there might be a couple more episodes where like they have a tree in the background. Like there's a Lost episode you brought up when it was for Christmas episodes, which is barely a Christmas episode. There's a Christmas tree in the background.
It counts. Shut up.
It's a great episode of television, but it's not about Christmas.
It is the Christmas spirit of it. I don't know when that episode aired. I can't remember, but I feel like it was in like October, November or something. But because Lost is a special case, because they kept track of chronologically when things were happening on the island, and they got to a point where like, okay, chronologically, it would be Christmas about this time. We should do something about it. We should have some sort of reference to it.
But anyway, I think it can be metaphorical to Thanksgiving dinner itself. Okay, you're building your plate. Okay, you got so many different options. You got, your turkey, your green bean casserole, your baked corn, pie, yams, stuffing. You got mashed potatoes, which don't overdo the mashed potatoes because that'll fill you up too much. But that's a whole other issue. But it's
you sound like you've been burned by mashed potato fillings more than once.
I have a whole Thanksgiving dinner strategy.
I believe that completely. And I think I do too, but I just don't have it, organized.
You have to go fill your plate. Don't waste your time with something you don't really like that much. You have everything on your plate.
Yep.
And you have like a mental order, like this is my favorite, this is my least favorite. Eat it from reverse order. Eat your least favorite thing on the plate first. That way there's always something better to look forward to until you start to get full. Then you jump and reverse it. Eat your favorite first, because then you don't want to be full and stuffed when you get to your favorite part.
Well done. I give an A+ to that stratagem.
Anyway, how that relates to
for me, TV. I'm sorry. I just realized. Yeah, because my big thing, I love rolls. I make my own homemade bread rolls for Thanksgiving, and those are like the pinnacle to it. So for me, it's like I'll have some of one part of the dish, and then I jump to the roll. And then I go to another part of the dish, and then I jump to the roll. It's like, it's back and forth, roll, other food, roll, other food. Like, I just ping pong it back and forth because I'm like, I want there to be so much bread that I'm consuming that, I'm like Oprah. I love bread.
So if there's like a fire and someone's yelling, stop, drop, and roll, you're just thinking about, where's the rolls?
There's a fire sale. Oh, someone think of the children.
Which, by the way,
Arrested Development, just so you know.
They hammered home stop, drop, and roll with us in Shelter, didn't they? Like that was really.
They really did, yeah.
How often were they expecting us to be catching on fire?
About as often as they expected us to stumble upon quicksand in your everyday life.
Yeah. I don't know if he stole that from John Mulaney. He has a really good bit about quicksand as well.
I've seen a post online that it's just like pretty much a Twitter thought of like, I was more concerned about quicksand than I ever needed to be in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, back to what you're saying.
Yeah. So you got all these different options. I think there's just a lot of freedom with Thanksgiving episodes because you don't have all the expectations of like, we got to have Christmas, you got to have Christmas music. You got to have Christmas decorations. You got to bring up Santa Claus. If it's like a Christian show, you got to bring up the manger scene. Like you don't have all that, but you have the elements for great TV shows to make it special. You have, first of all, family coming in. You can either introduce the family members or bring in recurring family members. For a show where it's about young adults, you bring in parents. There's different elements where you can make a story out of that. There's always the story about cooking a turkey. Something could go wrong with cooking a turkey. You could be like conflict with that's already established in your show of these two characters don't like each other. There's something going on here, but they're going to get together for Thanksgiving, and there's just a lot of rooms to play with, a lot of like templates that can go in a lot of different directions.
Absolutely, because everyone has different Thanksgiving experiences themselves. Some people love the holiday, some people hate the holiday, and you can have that with your characters. You can absolutely have characters that really love it, or you can have characters that they emulate other people's Thanksgiving experience, where someone brings up a conflict and then everyone's arguing. I mean, I think of Brad Pitt coming to dinner on the Friends episode for Thanksgiving, and you have that conflict at the family dinner, and it is an awkward episode. It's awkward what they have to deal with Brad Pitt's character. And I know so many people that they have Thanksgiving just like that. But I think you hit on something that you didn't really 100% highlight. Is one of the other things that's great about Thanksgiving episodes is, what do you do at Thanksgiving? Get around a table and eat. So what does that equal for on-screen entertainment? A potential bottle episode, something that's cheap to make, something that is easy to do with your casting, and that if you want to spend a little extra money, again, with going back to Brad Pitt, you bring in some stunt casting for it. You bring in a guest star for that episode, and you have the recipe for something that's a lot of fun. Recipe, didn't even look at that.
Yeah, and again, like kind of with the recipes, you have the Rachel making the trifle episode, and then everyone's secrets coming out. Which that episode, I still think Christina Pickle stole that episode with her one line of, "That's a lot of information to get in 30 seconds."
I don't know. I think equally stealing is Phoebe's, "I love Jacques Cousteau." That's a great end cap to that whole thing.
Also, it's funny, ironically, like they were talking about how she had a crush on Jack Geller, who the dad who played by Elliot Gould, as if him being like a sex symbol was a joke. Like he actually was like a Hollywood hunk guy, whatever, in the 70s. That's the term they used in the 70s, so that's era appropriate.
A hunk guy. Who are you? I'm a hunk guy. Say no more.
Yeah. So going from actually, being a sex symbol to being mocked for potentially being a sex symbol. It's a circle of life.
That's not what that is, Brian.
It moves us all.
You and I remember Lion King very differently.
It wasn't about a guy who ran away to live with homeless people, and then he came back when his childhood girlfriend came and had sex with him.
You're just stop destroying childhoods. That's not what we're here for. That's a happy side effect, but it's not our prime directive.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's what happened, though.
So one thing for me that I know factors into this, and I believe is the answer of a behind-the-scenes sort of answer of why we always get Thanksgiving episodes, is because of something called Sweeps Week.
Yeah.
Now, sweeps is something that the idea of sweeps, the terminology comes from the Nielsen rating, where they try and see how many people are watching our shows. So, since the 1950s, they've been looking at television audiences, and what they would do is that they would send these pamphlets, or these diaries that they call them, to different houses that they would select, and those houses would record the things that they would watch, not record DVR sort of record, but they would write down, okay, on Thursday night we watched I Love Lucy, and then on Friday night we watched Gunsmoke, and they would write down all of these. You like that? I use the actual top shows. So then they would write down what they would watch, and they would also write down the demographics of people who'd watch, and so they would use that for advertising purposes. And the term of sweeps comes from that they would do this. So Sweeps Week isn't exactly a week; it's a month, and there's 4 months throughout the year that they do Sweeps Week, where they do February. All of February is Sweeps Week. All of May is Sweeps Week. All of July is Sweeps Week, and all of November So November being a sweeps week, they start on the East Coast and they just go across the different time zones each week. So the first week of November, they record East Coast. What do they do? Then the Central Time, and then Mountain Time, then West Coast. And so they sweep across the nation. That's where that term comes from. So sweeps week is a time that TV shows are like, we need to give the best of the best. If we're going to have a major conflict that happens, or we're going to have a huge breakthrough in our sitcom, we are going to have it happen during sweeps week or at season end, because December had started to kind of become its own sort of sweeps week too, because they do a mid show break. And you might also have seen, if you'd be watching, and this is pre-streaming too. Like, it still exists, but it was a lot more pre-streaming. So you would have, like, you'd be watching this show throughout the fall season, and then all of a sudden November hits, and then you didn't have any. Maybe you had one or two more episodes in December, but it was really like almost the mid-season break would almost happen in November. And sometimes it did happen in November because they wanted to end on a high note with Sweeps Week. They wanted to get the ratings. They wanted to have this big episode that everyone had to watch. And I think Thanksgiving just gives a very natural way to have a unforced big event. And I think it was just that perfect. You know, you talked about a lot of great reasons why they'd be like, "Oh, this is awesome to use Thanksgiving for this." Mm-hmm. But I think you combine that with sweeps, and you've got a perfect recipe for a big episode where it's just natural. And people are at home, like, what do people do on Thanksgiving? Sure, they watch football, but you know, they wouldn't always have football at night. They'd have it during the day. Like, now we have 3 games of football on Thursdays. They didn't always have 3 games of football. Usually it was like 2 games, or you'd like watch the Lions or you'd watch the Cowboys, and that's it. But now you've got football all throughout the day. But you know, have people at home on Thanksgiving who they would watch something Thanksgiving night. Christmas time, you didn't really have people that would watch something on Christmas night, because that's why you see, this is something that my wife pointed out too about Christmas episodes, is that in Thanksgiving episodes, it's quite frequently they're actually on the day of Thanksgiving. Yeah. On Christmas episodes, it's very rarely on the day of Christmas. It's usually during the Christmas season, because they're going to show after, that. Yeah, exactly. Because they're going to show that episode. Sometimes it's Christmas Eve, but they'll show that episode like a week or 2 weeks before Christmas even hits. And they're like, well, we don't want to almost, like, in a way, shoot our wad, so to speak, of we've got now our Christmas done and there's still 2 weeks in the actual schedule for it to be Christmas. They'll say, okay, we're just in the middle of our Christmas season, that sort of thing. So I think that factors into it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say something, I completely forgot.
Did my shoot your wad comment just blow you away?
No, because here's the thing. I knew you were fishing with that one.
No, of course not, Tobias.
That's what she said is not fun if you know they're expecting it. When they're saying something that they didn't intend to be overtly sexual at all, that's when it's funny. So you didn't earn that.
It's that phrase is like the pinnacle. It like the quote from Tobias on Arrested Development. This is the second Tobias quote I'm making today. Was this I prematurely shot my wad on what was supposed to be a dry run, so to speak, and now I have something of a mess on my hands. And like then Mike was like, all right, this is what you do. You just get a tape recorder and you record everything you say in a day. Yeah, that was a great, like, perfect storm of the absolute worst way to phrase like 5 things.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, obviously behind the scenes that was completely planned out, but in the moment, with that character, they made a character so dumb that you believe that character would not realize it.
Yeah.
An episode. So I was thinking, The Office never did a Thanksgiving episode, unless I'm forgetting.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up earlier because I think that's one of the rare ones that I can't remember. They did Halloween pretty much every year. They did Christmas pretty much every year. And then, like I said, they did a couple.
Yeah, like St. Patrick's Day, that kind of thing.
St. Patrick's, yeah.
But you don't realize an episode that has Thanksgiving energy is Dinner Party. Could have easily been a Thanksgiving episode.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, it definitely has that. You're right about the energy, because that's what it is. It's a really weird dinner.
Yeah, I think if there's a long running show, like 7 to 10 seasons or plus of a show, you're gonna have Thanksgiving episodes, you're gonna have Christmas episodes, you're gonna have Halloween episodes, and I think throughout all of them, you're gonna probably hit a bunch of these random one-offs like St. Patrick's Day or this or that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's weird to me. Like, maybe it's not that weird, but for being Christian kids, you and me, we definitely had like our holidays be Christmas and Easter were like the big ones. Obviously, we'll celebrate Thanksgiving and other ones, but it's so funny that every show has like a Christmas one, but I can't think of a single show that has had an Easter episode.
I'm sure there are some, but I can't. I can't think of it.
I mean, once we get to there in the TV show The Chosen, that'll be an Easter episode.
I still haven't gone through and watched The Chosen yet.
It's good. It's good. And it's free. It's free.
Does that mean The Passion of the Christ is an Easter movie?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
I like to double binge that and then Hop. Both of those in a row. They're very similar.
I have nothing to say.
I've never actually watched Hop.
I have. It's okay. So do you? I just random about Thanksgiving in general. Do you have any like family Thanksgiving traditions that you do?
We used to go to my parents' house, but my dad's side of the family, and that's who we'd have Thanksgiving with, is pretty small, and actually a lot of them have passed away now, and so we would have, let me think, maybe like 6 or 7 guests. I guess we'd have my mom's parents would stop by too, but my mom has like a bigger side of the family, so we wouldn't do like a Thanksgiving with them. So it's like we'd have 6 to 8 dinner guests, and right now probably I think like 5 of them are dead, and one of them's in a nursing home. So I mean, we don't have that now. I think like I have 4 kids, so a woman, so I've got like 5 people that I've added to the numbers, but it's ends up being a family sort of. So my parents end up actually coming up to Minnesota now,
Okay.
and Angie's family, we live here with her family's all close, so we do like a big Thanksgiving, and then my parents will actually be at that Thanksgiving, and so we go from like me growing up had like 10 people as our Thanksgiving dinner, and now we have like a 50 to 60 person Thanksgiving dinner.
Nice. When you were saying that, were you having a child so that every time you had like an uncle die, you like replace them with the family?
No, but Jack was born 3 days before my uncle died, so there was that one incident where that happened.
I also have a few months after. No, it was within the same week that we adopted Charlie. My uncle Chuck, who's also named Charles, passed away too.
How just random. And we made the drive down, so we drove a 6-hour drive down to Omaha for that funeral with a newborn.
Oof.
Yeah, though he traveled really well, surprisingly. So
my family, on my dad's side of the family, whenever we get together, we have a Sudoku challenge. We print out copies of the exact same puzzle, and we you don't allow anybody to look at it until we're starting, and we always race to finish it. I haven't won yet. I think my dad won last time we did it.
I remember you talking about that, and then like isn't the first person who gets it like it's to get their food first or something like that?
No, we should do it after dinner.
Oh,
maybe we did that one year.
I thought maybe I would. Maybe I'm confused. Maybe if it was like I thought you did it at Christmas too, like the first person gets like to open the first present or something like that. I thought there was some sort of reward instead of just bragging rights.
Yeah, there could be. My family's had some weird traditions. Like also, we would do have Easter. We'd all have like plastic eggs full of candy, and we'd empty out the candy, and then we'd have an all-out Easter egg fight in the middle of the living room where we were chucking eggs at each other. And one year we called, Paul was in the basement, and we all got ready with our eggs and called him upstairs, and we all pelted like probably 100 eggs at him all at the same time.
That makes sense. One time I tried to egg Paul and Laura's house, and Laura just came out and she just immediately like palmed one of the eggs. I threw it, and then she just chucked it right back at me. I'm like, how does she know how to handle getting an egg thrown at her? Now it makes sense.
Is that a real story?
No, that was a completely fake story. 0% of that happened.
Okay, I don't believe that my sister would be able to catch an egg.
You know what's funny is like me saying that. I know Laura listens. I can imagine Laura just like listening as we're talking about it and be like, "Did I ever do that? When did that happen? Like, oh no, he's lying. He's full of crap.
Speaking of Laura, so it's funny. So a few weeks ago, we did our what if episode, and I prepared people for hate comments when I said that I thought Rachel and Joey would make a good couple. I was like getting simultaneous comments. I was getting hate comments from Mike, who was on our podcast a while back. And so he hated the comment. He thought it was a bad take. Ross and Rachel and Joey were not a good couple. And then I get Laura texting me saying, I completely agree. Rachel and Joey would be a better couple.
They're such a good couple. Like, okay.
So
I don't know. My take is I can see it going either way. Relationships are super hard. And it's like you can't just say, oh, these two characteristics would like work together. If that was the case, then dating websites would be a lot more effective. Because that's what they do. They're like, oh, you have this sort of personality. Let's match up with this sort of personality. You're that percent of a match. But there's so many intangibles. So it's like, yeah, Joey and Rachel could be a good relationship. They could also be an awful relationship. You just don't know.
Mm-hmm. So getting back to the Thanksgiving theme, this is probably our most scatterbrained episode, but I like it.
It is. I knew it would be. We got our point across. If this was a video essay, it would be one thing. You'd have to be a lot more focused. But because it's a back and forth podcast, we don't have a script. We're able to be this way. We kind of have to be.
Everything we say is scripted.
No, that was stop it, Dwight.
Yeah. What is your favorite turkey-related plot in a Thanksgiving episode?
Turkey-related plot. What a random question.
While you think I have one.
The one that comes to mind is getting your head stuck in a turkey.
You say that like it happens on something other than just Friends.
I feel like I've seen that on a couple of episodes and not just on Friends.
What happened in more than one episode of Friends, I think. It could have, but...
Because didn't Monica have that happen?
Well, it was in the same episode. It happened to Joey in a flashback, and then Monica put it on her head when she told Chandler that she loved him.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But I'm pretty sure there were 2 different times in the series that they did the whole Chandler and Monica say, I love you for the first time. There were.
Oh, yeah.
So they forgot they did it, and they did it again.
Because I remember it. Yeah, I remember one of them being the like, they don't know that we know that they know sort of thing, and then Chandler admits it. Yeah.
And then later on, he said when she had the turkey, he said, "Oh my God, you're so great! I love you." What'd you say? You can't reveal. You can't have a reveal that you already revealed.
Get a script supervisor.
Yeah. It's like, Matt, guess what? Your youngest kid was a boy.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're right. I don't think that's true. All right, you had one ready to go, and I'm curious to hear what it is.
Okay, it's a show that I don't think we've even mentioned in passing on any episode of this podcast, which is Mad About You. And I say this because this is one of my parents' favorite shows. And a couple of years ago, we were having Thanksgiving with my dad's side of the family, and my dad actually got out the DVD, and my whole family watched the Thanksgiving episode of Mad About You on Thanksgiving, because the whole thing is like he keeps going to the store to get turkeys. Either like they didn't have one or something, or like the turkey goes out the window, or like he keeps having to go back and buy turkey after turkey after turkey on the same day because things keep happening to the turkey. And so the episode is called Giblets for Murray, I believe.
Nice. Yeah, I think that would be because turkey-based humor to me, like I can't think of one that I'm like, oh, this is really funny. Like the whole burning the turkey and then what do we have to do instead, or like the having to stuff the turkey for the first time and going through that whole thing of, or I don't know how to actually make a turkey, so I have to do it. You know, I don't feel like there is any turkey-based humor like this is really good. Like the in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, they burn the turkey. Or I don't know exactly what it is, but it's like the inside of it is all like vapid and empty. And so they're all like, they have the shot of going around the table and they're all just like crunching on like this turkey jerky. I don't find that funny. Mm-hmm. It's like, there's not to me something about that. I think that for as big of a focus as food is for Thanksgiving, I don't ever think of the best Thanksgiving episodes being at all related to the food.
Yeah.
Except for maybe you brought it up earlier, the Rachel and the cookbook sticking together.
Yeah.
Because I like Joey's reaction. The custard good, meat good.
It could be a good MacGuffin.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. That's exactly more what it is it's like this is something that creates the conflict, but the characters themselves responding to the conflict is better than the actual conflict itself.
just like in real life, the turkey gets you there, but it's the I don't know, the camaraderie of your family that keeps you going. I'm just writing Hallmark cards here.
Put those away.
Hallmark.
Oh my gosh, Ange is already watching Hallmark movies. Okay, guys, we are recording this like the first week of November, and Angie's like, "I'm so excited! I got Hallmark movies." I'm like, "I like Christmas too," but I walked in on one of them like, "Oh wait, is this that one movie where there's the girl who her life is okay as it is, and she doesn't think that she needs anything, and then she meets a guy who challenges all of her preconceptions about love?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's it. That's what every single one of them is." Okay.
You ever seen those things go around where it's like they put a bunch of Hallmark scripts into like a generator, and they had like a computer auto generate like the first like line of Hallmark movie? Have you seen those?
The first page, I remember that. Yeah, that one was a good one. I can't remember any of the jokes from it. I remember like, yep, that's it.
And they got a star. Let's see, Candace Cameron, Melissa Joan Hart, or Mario Lopez.
Yes. You bringing up that anecdote and then us having no content with it is the equivalent of like the Chris Farley sketch from the Saturday Night Live where he'd have people on like, remember, like he had Arnold Schwarzenegger on. Remember in the Terminator when you said to them, "I'll be back"? Yeah, that was awesome. It's like that's the extent of just bringing up an anecdote with no further anything on it. Just so you know. Chris, just so you know, Brian.
I think, if anything, I would be the Chris Farley of this podcast.
I was using such a condescending tone that I usually reserve for my other podcast, so I almost called you Terrence, and then I switched at the last second, so I didn't call you the wrong name, and I ended up calling you the wrong name anyway. That's what happened just then.
You called me the other wrong name.
The other wrong name.
Okay. All right. Well, Josh.
Thank you.
How do you like it?
I love it. Josh is a great name. All right. So deal with it.
Yeah. One thing that the turkey wasn't the part of the episode that was funny, but it was a funny joke. The first episode of Third Rock from the Sun, because in that episode they're aliens experiencing human culture for the first time, and they didn't know what Thanksgiving was, and they thought it was like the apocalypse. They're like, nobody's going to work. Everyone's flooding the grocery stores. Like everyone's trying to get out of town. Like what's going on? And then one of the characters, she comes home with 4 turkeys. I don't know, but these must be important. Everyone's buying these. I got one for each of us.
That reminds me of there's a comedian who I believe he's Indian. He's from another culture, but he had come to America, and his first day in America was Thanksgiving. And he's talking about like how there's these parades and everyone like is eating turkey and it's just like this great day. And he's like, that was my first experience of American culture, and I thought that's just how life was in America, and there has been no day that has lived up to that first day ever since being here.
It's like Alexi at the fair in Stranger Things, minus a spoiler alert, but
yeah, you can't say spoiler alert after you say it. Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. Spoiler.
I'll bleep it because I feel like that's a recent enough show, and we just did an episode on it that I'll bleep that.
There, okay.
Giving myself more editing to do.
Where to go? You did this to yourself. Well done.
I did.
Well, speaking of doing things to yourself, no, that's a bad story. I don't have a speaking of. So let's move into trivia.
Yeah.
What was last week's trivia, Brian?
So we had my son on, and we talked about the show The Good Place, which has a recurring character, Derek, played by Jason Mantzoukas. He said, what animated show stars Jason Mantzoukas as a voice actor? And that is Big Mouth, a show that I've seen a few episodes on.
I have definitely accidentally or almost called Jason Mantzoukas Jason Mendoza a number of times because Jason Mendoza is a character on The Good Place. And it's one of those that's very easy to... It's like the whole Bill Pullman, Bill Paxton thing as actors. Like, there's a lot of people that they call the wrong person the wrong one.
But Jason Mantzoukas is very identifiable. Like, he plays the same kind of character in everything he does. And I feel like sometimes it can be a bit much, but I think if he's used right, it he's a very funny actor, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't um like his version in Parks and Rec, where he's like the jerky version of it as Dennis Feinstein. I
Yeah,
like more like the version from Pimento from
yeah.
Brooklyn
Let's say Brooklyn
Nine-Nine.
Nine-Nine, where he's insane, but he's not actively like against them. He just like does his own thing. He's like a loose cannon.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. That's exactly what he is. When you need someone who's just like random, crazy, off the wall humor, he's like the TV version of Nicolas Cage.
Yeah,
Nicolas Cage has more range, though.
does he?
He does, because Nicolas Cage does actually completely different stuff. You said it yourself. Jason Mantzoukas plays pretty much himself or plays kind of the same role and everything. Nicolas Cage, he does different things, even if you don't think it's that good of acting, or if it's like the Community episode where you think it's apparently great acting. Yeah. I don't care. He does different stuff.
Yeah. So random tidbits. I was listening to Danny Pudi, who played Abed on Community, talk, and he was saying like his kids are almost getting to the age they're letting him watch a little bit of Community here and there, and they watched the episode where Abed was getting like had like a mental breakdown about knowing if Nicolas Cage is a good actor or not. And he said, yeah, at one point I'm like on all fours on the table going, I'm a sexy cat. I'm a sexy cat. And now my kids are running around the house calling themselves sexy cats.
It's great. I like the storyline that they did where it's very similar to that, but it was instead the Who's the Boss class.
Yeah, with Stephen Tobolowsky.
Yes. Who is a gem of a human being from what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. He's also on Stephen Tobolowsky is also a regular character on One Day at a Time.
He's on so much stuff. Stephen Tobolowsky, but I mean, I love him in Groundhog Day as Ned Ryerson. Bing.
There's I saw a stand-up clip of him talking about how he got the clip of that, and it's actually really interesting because I guess he was like roommates or something with the guy they actually wrote the part for, and they still cast him over that guy.
Yeah, that's really funny. Okay, never mind. I was gonna give another tidbit thing. We don't have time to go down every single rabbit trail that we have. We are at trivia. We do have a little bit of time, but we're at trivia. We can be done. Okay, fine. I can't resist. So I think it's funny that Jackie Earle Haley, he's a movie actor that he went to one of the auditions to play the Johnny Depp's role, the role that went to him in Nightmare on Elm Street. And Johnny Depp just went along with him just as like kind of support. And somehow someone saw him like, oh, would you mind reading for this? And Johnny Depp gets that part. And then, funnily enough, Jackie Earle Haley still gets a final laugh because he ends up playing Freddy Krueger when they did the reboot all those years later in 2012 or 13, something like that. So that is the fun anecdote that I was at for casting. All right, trivia, much easier than my anecdotes, probably easier than the one last week. What character hates Thanksgiving? I think a couple would fit the bill, but let me know who's a character on a TV show that you're like, this character has said they hate. Because there's two I'm thinking of.
Oh, I don't know. Who's the second? Tell me afterwards.
Okay. There's one that I think is like the answer that is like he really, really hates, and then there's one who doesn't like it, I guess. I guess he doesn't like it more than hates. But.
Yeah. Then so next week we're also doing Thanksgiving. We're doing Thanksgiving Part 2. Thanksgiving, the leftover turkey sandwich edition.
My sandwich. So we're going to talk about what are our favorite Thanksgiving episodes. Let us know in the comments what are your favorite Thanksgiving episodes, and see if we have the same ones. Wouldn't that be great?
This is going to be difficult because there are so many good Thanksgiving episodes.
Yes,
we are absolutely going to have to miss some good ones. So you can, let us know what are your favorites.
Yep. Because we are probably going to miss it. Well, not probably, but we might miss it. All right. Sorry. Even if I had to for a episode, oh, well, what's your favorite New Girl Thanksgiving episode? I don't know. Oh, there's a lot of good ones. What's your favorite Friends one? I don't know. There's a lot of good ones. So
yeah, but be careful with your leftover sandwiches, because if someone else eats them, you might end up yelling and getting fired from work and having to get a new apartment and then having to look at your sister have sex with your best friend. Just be careful.
Or they might give you a medication and you thought it would be a good idea, so you took it.
because of your rage, which, what may I say, is out of control. One of my favorite line reads.
I'll say it again. David Schwimmer, he does the most with the least content given. He is given the least amount of funny lines, but he makes the most out of what he's given. There you go. All right. Well, that is it. Have a great Thanksgiving. If you don't listen to next week's episode, I won't blame you. It's going to be a good one. I know it's going to be a good one, but if you don't listen to it, then I'll say it right now. Have a great Thanksgiving. We'll say it next week too. But
I'm
until
not
next time,
I'm not going to say Thanksgiving if you don't listen to the next week. All or nothing. My
I'm not going to tell you it now. I hope you have a terrible Thanksgiving unless you listen to it next week.
I will retroactively wish a happy Thanksgiving to people who listen to both episodes.
Well, there you go. Until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Brian.
And we're reminding you to stay tuned and keep watching.